The identity of the Evergreen High School student who police believe shot two classmates yesterday has been released. And the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office clarified that one of the victims released is not back at home. In a news conference this morning, a doctor with St. Anthony's said the victim was no longer in their care. We've now confirmed the victim was transferred to Children's Hospital for further care. Thanks for joining us at noon. Today, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office clarified that health distinction in a news conference that just finished within the last 10 minutes. 9 News' Jennifer Meckles was on scene all day yesterday and is now back with us to share the latest details. Jenny, I know that you must be inundated with emotion. You have been on the scene. What have you learned today?
Well, Sam, we've learned a lot of information in the last 30 minutes, starting with the identity of the shooter. So let me share that with you first, as well as a photo that was shared from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office just in this last hour. The student was identified, a student, by the way, as 16-year-old Desmond Holly, a student here at Evergreen High School. The big question everyone wants to know is why? What is the motive? I want to be very clear that they don't know yet. The Sheriff's Department tells us they're still trying to gather information. The only thing they can say so far about trying to piece together a why behind all this is that this student, they believe, had been radicalized by an extremist network. What does that mean? It's a great question. At this point, that's as much as they feel they can pass along to us, but that's incredibly front and center in this investigation moving forward. They told us that they have so far searched the home where the student lived. They know he took a bus to school yesterday, not his car, so there was no car to search, but they're searching his phone, his locker, his home. They tell us that his family has been cooperative. We've asked more questions about what that looks like and how the law enforcement has characterized parents' involvement or non-involvement. At this point, they said family's been cooperative. We are working with them. We've been in touch with them. They tell us that this student came to the school yesterday with a lot of ammunition. He loaded and reloaded, and that there were an unknown, so many that they don't know, number of shots around this school. And that's something that they're still kind of going through, finding what happened throughout the school. They are able to track his movements through the school from security cameras that are inside of this high school, something that will be very helpful in telling the narrative and the timeline of this story as we move forward. We asked the Sheriff's Department if they believe he intended to come here with a certain amount of casualties. And they said, we don't know exactly, but again, the amount of ammunition he brought, the amount of shots that were fired were a lot. We know 2 students were injured. Those are the 2 that Sam mentioned at the very start of this newscast. 2 students that were injured still in the hospital tonight. I want to share with you a few comments quickly from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in the update they just gave us when talking about the shooter.
We know that the suspect had a handgun. He had to keep reloading. He would fire and reload, fire and reload, fire and reload. This went on and on. And as he did that, he tried to find new targets. And he came up against a roadblock on many of those doors. He couldn't get to those kids.
Kelly from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, and she was speaking about the processes and systems in place for the students who understood what to do in a lockdown and the teachers who helped protect them. We know a lot of kids that were here at the school took off from the scene yesterday. They started running in every direction they could find safety, but the kids who were still inside the school, Jackie was incredibly complimentary, as was this department, about how they did what they'd been trained to do, and it saved lives yesterday, because she says that the suspect appeared to be on a mission to try to get into various classrooms. We know the suspect is dead. That was reported as of last night. The Sheriff's Department tells us that the autopsy was done on him this morning. We do not have any information to share beyond that at this point. And also, there's a couple of things still happening here at the high school today that are relevant. I want to show you behind me what's going on. So there's a lot of cars still in the parking lot from kids and staff that were parked here yesterday that they cannot just come and show up and get their car. There is a system in place for this now today too. They are meeting the families that have cars in this parking lot. So if this is you, this is what you need to do. You need to go back over to Bergen Meadow. That was the place for reunification yesterday. You need to bring a set of keys, one set of keys. If your keys are here on site, you can't get it, but if you got a spare set of keys, and they're going to bus people from that site over here and then escort people to their cars. We've already seen that start today. We've seen young people coming to get the vehicles that were left here yesterday, and that process is going to continue throughout the day. Last thing I want to say, Sam, I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you here. There's a lot of questions about an SRO presence in this yesterday. So here's what we've been able to clarify. Yes, Jefferson County, of course, works with their law enforcement in the school district. The SROs in this district are deputies within the sheriff's department. This school, we were told today, has an SRO signed to them full time, but that particular SRO had been on leave. I believe they said it was a medical leave, but it was some kind of an approved leave. And in the meantime, while that person was on leave, they were filling it with helpers from other schools. So there was someone here this morning. They had left, as they are allowed to do. They just weren't here on site at the time. So a really unfortunate timing, certainly. Not that that may have made a difference, but that was to answer some questions that existed about the SRO situation here at Evergreen High School.
And Jenny, you know, every student, every parent's worst nightmare. I know that we have a lot of unanswered questions, and hopefully in the days to come, we will find additional answers. Quickly, do you know if there was any sort of information about a weapon and how that student obtained the weapon?
It's a great question. It's a question we've been asking. Not at this time. We asked them, do you know, because this young man is too young to buy a weapon for himself, do you know how he came to have that weapon, who it belongs to? And we were told that is part of the investigation at this time. No news to report on that so far, but certainly a question at the top of a lot of people's minds. Sam.
All right, Jennifer Meckles, appreciate you. Thank you. And our coverage will continue later today, starting on 9 News at 3. Well, there is still no arrest in the search for the gunman who shot and killed conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University yesterday. But just over an hour ago, the FBI released these pictures of a person of interest after they recovered the high-powered bolt-action rifle used in the shooting, along with a palm print and a forearm imprint.
After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood. Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses.
This is the third person potentially connected to the crime, but the first two persons of interest were determined to be innocent. 24 years ago today, nearly 3,000 people started their day at work and on planes, and, well, they never made it home. 19 terrorists had hijacked 4 passenger planes and crashed them into New York City's Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and in a field in Pennsylvania. So each year on September 11th, we as a country mark the tragedy in many ways. One of the ways here in the Denver Metro is the Memorial Stair Climb at Red Rocks Amphitheater. It is the 17th year that firefighters dressed in full gear head up the stairs, as so many firefighters did in 2001 to save as many victims as possible. The event happens when the second plane involved in the attacks crashed into the World Trade Center. In New York City, that bell was rung at the moment the first plane hit the first tower. And that silence was actually very loud as victims' families joined with first responders and city leaders to mark 24 years since that day. President Trump spoke at a ceremony at the Pentagon.
The laughter of school children fell silent. The rush of our traffic came to an absolute halt. And for 2,977 innocent souls and their families, the entire world came crashing down so suddenly.
An event was also held to honor the people who fought terrorists on the plane that crashed into a Shanksville, Pennsylvania field, along with the other passengers who were killed.